Sometimes I'll be listening to amazing music from artists like Aphex Twin and think, what the hell is creating that? It sounds like some kind of filtering because it's quite muffled and dull sounding, but regular filters don't create those kinds of high frequency artifacts. I saw this same question on Reddit recently and it didn't have a definitive answer, although Maruku Man did reply, whatever it is, it's some sort of spectral effect. Well, good job Maruku Man, because spectral effects is definitely on the right track. I in fact had my aha moment when tinkering with the range of spectral FFT effects that come with Devious Machine's Infiltrator, many of which create very similar sounds to the mysterious Aphex ones. I was really surprised by the extent of the effects available here, which make Infiltrator very unique in this area, and expand it out into a whole new world of creative possibilities, and most importantly, allow you to create really awesome glitchy sounds. Just for any mega nerds like me, all of these effects use something called FFT filtering, or fast Fourier transform filtering. If you don't know what a Fourier transform is, then basically it's a way of breaking down a signal into its individual frequency components, essentially turning a waveform that you might see when looking at a sample, which shows its level over time, into the readout on a frequency spectrum analyzer that's receiving that sample, which shows the levels of the different frequencies that make it up. Much like on an equalizer, you can choose the resolution of the effect by selecting the number of FFT bands, which is similar to choosing bands on a vocoder, say, where a higher number of bands makes the sound more accurate and less lo-fi. With FFT filters, though, you get a much higher number of bands, ranging from 256 all the way to 8,192. So the resolution of the effects is considerably larger, although CPU hungrier and latency inducing as a result. So let's take a look at some of the different types that you have here in Infiltrator then. As you can see, we have 14 to choose from. I'll start with shift as it's an easy one to get your head round. This is basically a pitch, or in this case frequency shifter, as it moves the entire signal up or down the spectrum, depending on which direction and how much you rotate the scale dial. With a larger number of bands, it's similar to a normal pitch shifter, but when you decrease the number of bands, it gets much wonkier sounding. So if we were to add a bit of modulation to this dial now, then it gives us some really nice textural shifting. Quite different from a regular pitch shifter. Another one here is Cascade, which is definitely a favourite of mine. This creates a kind of filter sweep effect, where length sets the duration of the sweep and centre the direction it goes in. The cool thing with this one is as you up the number of bands, you increase the range on the length dial, so you can do much slower sweeps, which sounds particularly awesome. Check it out on these chords now. So now onto the one that created the sound that made me immediately think of Aphex Twin's window licker. It's called Lo-Fi and it emulates the sound of low bitrate digital compression, so it's kind of like a bit crusher. However, it has a lot more character than most. As you turn up the factor dial, it starts compressing it, and the effect is a bit like bringing down a low pass or high cut filter frequency, as it removes increasing amounts of harmonics. You've also got randomize and slow dials alongside, which add some randomization to the harmonics that are removed and slow down the behavior, both increasing the general wonkiness. I should mention that this is one where you normally want to have a high number of FFT bands, as the lower band numbers create a very different sound. Anyway, so much variety and unique mangling with this one, so Aphex fans will have tons of fun here. I thought I'd end with a look at how these spectral effects are great on beats as well as melodies, which is all we've heard so far. So to finish up, let's check out this preset I've made, ideal for processing beats. It's called FFT Those Beats FFS, and it's a chain of various FFT effects. Some we've seen already and some we haven't. And it's doing all kinds of mental things to this electro break. At the beginning, we have this rotate effect being modulated with a pinched triangle wave. And this is creating the whooshing type pitch shifting, which normally works much better on beats than melodies, by the way. You can bring this in and out with the whirligig macro if you need though. Other highlights are the scatter effect, making a kind of delay type tremolo, which you can bring in and out with a macro again. And what I've called Angry Laser, which is cascade, set to a length where it's creating really nice laser-style frequency sweeps on each drum. And there's a bit of envelope following on here, used to crank up the gain on drums to distort things a bit. And the last macro is this amazing lo-fi effect once again, turning our beats into a soupy digital swamp. Grab this preset in the description if you want to have a play with it yourself. So that's it for this video, and I hope you've now got a much better idea about the spectral and FFT filter effects that come with Infiltrator, and feel inspired and ready to use them in your own music. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more helpful and informative vids like this in the future. See you next time.